Hello everyone. In the previous video, we learned about the techniques of project management through the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. We had picked up one verse from each chapter and tried to benefit from that knowledge to implement effective project management and how to achieve all the objectives in a state of happiness and peacefulness. In today's video, we'll talk about the impediments. There are so many: Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mad, Moh, Matsar, Rag, Dvesh, Irsha, anger, greed, frustration, attachment, envy, jealousy, etc. So we will pick up one verse from each chapter and again see how these teachings can keep us in a state of positivity and enthusiasm, and when such situations occur, how we can address them. So the first chapter, verse number 32, Arjun Vishad Yog, Arjun is lamenting about the consequences of the war, and he says, Na kankshate vijayam rajan, na cha rajyam sukhani cha. Kim no rajena govindam, kim bhogair jivite nava. What is the point in achieving this happiness and the kingdom, etc., if the heart is going to be miserable because I have to shoot arrows on my own kith and kin. So Arjun is shirking away from his duties. So in the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga through the analytical studies, Sri Krishna talks about the immortality of the soul, that the soul is eternal, the body is temporary, the body has to be cast aside anyway. So duties cannot be overlooked. Duties are paramount. And he talks about Karma Yoga, that how we should focus on our duties and not be concerned about the results. So in that context, he comes out with a beautiful 2 verses teaching, 62 and 63. ध्यायतो विषयापुंसः संगातेषुपजायते संगात संजायते कामः कामः क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहः स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Arjun, it all begins with the contemplation. You are thinking about the results, but the results are not in your hand. Results depend on so many other factors. Your past karmas, the necessity, the divine will, etc., etc. If you think about the results, you will be miserable. You just perform your duties. Be assured that the results will be delivered with full justice. This comes with the faith in the divine justice. So, next we move into the third chapter, Karma Yoga. The verse that we pick up is again very profound. It talks about the anger and lust, how the anger, greed, lust torment us, and how it is so difficult to prevent them. So Arjun is asking a very profound question which is so relevant to everyone. Ath kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushah anichchanapi varshaneya baladiva niyojitah. Verse 36. How is it that, O Shri Krishna, we don't want to commit wrong, we don't want to act in sinful activities, but we end up doing that as if we are forced to do it? So in the verse 37, Shri Krishna responds, Kama esh krodh esh rajogun samudbhava anashano mahashano mahapapma vidyena iha varinam. Arjun, know for sure it is the desire which is the cause for this misery. The developing desires in our heart is the root cause, and that is what is leading to the anger and greed. Because if the results are in our favor, we don't become contented, we become greedy, we want more. And if the results are unfavorable, we become angry, and that leads to our fall, which is what was explained in the second chapter. Then in the fourth chapter, Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga, there is a technique about eliminating those karmas. So Sri Krishna says that Tasya Sarve Samarambha Kama Sankalpa Varjitaha Tamahu Pandita Buddha. Gyan Agni Dagdha Karmana Tamahu Pandita Buddha. This profound knowledge that there is a supreme entity which is the creator, the sustainer, the destroyer, is the perfect judge, and he decides what is right, what is wrong, and he grants the results. The results are ultimately in his hands, and if we believe in that, we work only for the pleasure of that entity, that supreme, we remain in a state of bliss and peace. So, all the karmas are burnt because of this knowledge. And this is the state of those who have realized such knowledge, Tamahu Pandita Buddha. And then in the fifth chapter, a very famous verse, Shaknoti hi Yaiva Yashodhum Praksharira Vimokchanat Kama Krodha Bhavam Vegam Sayukto Sasukhi Naraha. See how the anger and greed have been talked about in all the chapters. Because this is what is happening to us. Doesn't take long for us to become angry. Doesn't take long for us to become lusty, greedy, desirous. So, Sri Krishna is telling that who is happy and who is peaceful? Sayukta sa sukhi naraha, who can control the forces of anger and lust. And the chapter 5 was Karma Sannyas Yoga. And the chapter 6 is Dhyan Yoga. In the chapter 6, Sri Krishna says, Gyan Vijnana Yuktatma, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, Samlostashma Kanchana, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, Kutastho Vijitendriyaha, Yukta Yogi iti uchyate, Samlostashma Kanchana. He's talking about the knowledge that those who have learned to see the clod of earth, the stone and gold, to be the same. They are not getting enamored that this is just the earth and this is a stone and this is gold. They have attained that state of peacefulness and bliss, and they have, by the grace of the Lord, attained control on their senses. And the 7th chapter, another very important verse, Gyan Vijnana Yoga, which is about the lust, the desire. It says, Balam balvatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. We are all tormented by this attraction for the opposite gender. So Sri Krishna says, actually this quality of the attraction is me. This 7th chapter is amazing. Sri Krishna says the taste in water is me. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. He says the brightness of the sun and moon is me. He says the first sound is me. In that series, he also says that I am the attraction between the opposite genders. But as long as it is within the boundaries of the dharma, the religiosity, the righteousness, this is acceptable. And then we move into the 8th chapter, which is the Akshar Brahma Yoga. There is a shloka which says, Sarva dwarani sanyamya mano hriddhi niruddhya cha murdhanya dharanaya sthito yogi dharanam. This verse says that there is a method to achieve the tranquility, the peace, the meditation, the control. You lock your senses, your mind in your heart, because the mind is the one which is fickle, and the mind is always taking us away from our goal. The mind is not controlling the senses. So the control of senses and the mind, by placing them in the heart and using the prana, the life air, there is this technique to achieve the peace and the bliss. So this is a meditational technique Sri Krishna talks about in 8th chapter. In the 9th chapter, which is Raj Vidya Yoga, there is again a very amazing verse which says, Api chetsu duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantabhya sadhureva samantabhya samyak vyavasito hi sa. So Sri Krishna says, it doesn't matter if you are into wrongdoing. Even the greatest sinners can take to devotion, can take to the shelter of Sri Krishna. If the resolve is proper, in no time, the divinity will eliminate your negativity and bring you into the state of divinity. Very reassuring verse from chapter 9. And chapter 10, which is the Vibhuti Yoga, is a beautiful verse which says, Machchita madgata prana bodhayanta parashparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyam cha ramanti cha. We have to have the faith in God. As we mentioned in the previous video, we see how the earth is being converted into potato, tomato, cauliflower, radish, brinjal, pumpkin, mango, lychee, papaya. Everything is coming from earth. The body is constructed by that power, by that energy. Why are we not accepting that supreme reality? That supreme reality which makes the sun to appear every day, the moon to appear. So much we are aware, which is beyond our imagination. The reality behind that is God, and majority of the people in the world believe in God. In the American currency, it is written, in God we trust. So why don't we trust Him that He does justice? And that's what we are trying to learn, that, oh Lord, my anger, my greed, my desire is really tormenting me, is making me miserable. So please help me. And if we can take baby steps and move towards our goal through the implementation of the techniques that we are learning, we can achieve the results. So in the 11th chapter, there is a beautiful verse which I just said. It is about conversing about this supreme reality, God. The devotees, they take delight in singing the hymns of God, by glorifying Him, by doing His worship, by talking about Him. Of course, it is forbidden that those who are not ready, we cannot forcibly talk about it. No, it has to be a joyful experience. Those who are willing to hear, only them we can approach. And then the chapter 12, a favorite chapter, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga through devotion to the Lord. There is a beautiful verse which says, Yashmano dvijate lokan, lokano dvijate chayah, harsha marsha bhayo dvaigair, yukto sa yacha me priyah. Well, this is very profound, almost impossible to accept. Even though you are being insulted, be forgiving. But from your side, you don't wish to bring discomfort to anyone. So it says that Sri Krishna is saying that in this chapter, that my devotees are the ones who don't cause any discomfort, any problem to anyone. But if they are insulted, if they are made uncomfortable, they take it, they know how to tolerate it. And then the chapter 13, there is a series of shloka, which is long, but let me quickly say that because there is so much of knowledge. It is worth learning these verses from the 13th chapter, Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa chantir arjavam acharyopasanam shaucham asthairyam atma vinigrahah indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktir anabhishvangah putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachitatvam ishtanistopi papattisu mai chananya yogena bhaktir abhyavicharini vivikta deshe sevitvam arti arjana shansadi adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam etaj jnanam iti proktam ajnanam etadonyatha. So here Sri Krishna has listed many qualities. Of course, at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, if you come to my shelter, if you surrender to me, then you don't need to worry about individual qualities. All the qualities will automatically happen to you. The surrender is so important. The acceptance, the faith. Then we don't need to worry about all these qualities. But if you do wish to know about the qualities which Sri Krishna is talking about, these are the qualities. No greed, no anger, no lust, no pride. Understanding that the body is temporary, all relatives are temporary, all wealth that we have acquired is temporary. And the real knowledge is to remain blissful and peaceful and be loving and neutral and seeing God in everyone, to handle the miseries and not to become elated in the so-called, euphoria. So that is what is explained in chapter 13, Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga, verse 8 onwards. And then we go into the chapter 14, where Sri Krishna is talking about the same concept. Everywhere it is actually the same. How to remain steady. Sam dukkha sukha swastha, sam lostashma kanchana. Tulya priya priyo dhiras, tulya nindatma sanstutihi. Here Sri Krishna says that one needs to remain steady, neither getting elated in happy moments nor getting saddened in sad moments. Some dukkha sukha, remain steady. That's the beautiful state, right? And the chapter 15, Purushottam Yoga, the yoga through the realization of the Supreme Personality. There is a beautiful verse, Nirmana moha jit sang dosha अध्यात्म नित्या विनिवृत्त कामा द्वंद्वैर्विमुक्ता सुख दुख संगैर गच्छन्त्य मूढ़ा padamam vyam tat. A favorite of many, I think 7 or 8, the verse number, chapter 15. Again the same concept, remain steady. But that is possible only by becoming spiritualized, by accepting the fact, yes, I need to accept the supreme reality. As I mentioned, every religion is talking about it. Thou shalt love thy God with all thy heart, with all thy might, with all thy soul. The Holy Bible, Ma Kalaktal, Inswajin, Illela Abdun, the Holy Quran. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Buddhism, every religion talks about God, that we have to accept Him. God who is known by various names. There are some people who say in Hinduism there are so many gods, but that's completely untrue. There is only one God. He is known by different names. Radha, Krishna, Durga, Shankar, Shiv, Shambhu, Ram, Parshuram, Buddha, Vishnu. And in different religions he is known by Ahur Mazda, Sat Sri Akal, Alak Niranjan in Hinduism, in Shintoism, in so many religions he is having different names, Allah, Khuda, etc. So there is only one supreme reality, and acceptance of that reality, the surrender to that reality, is what is being talked about in Bhagavad Gita. And that is such a powerful tool that every other quality happens automatically, which is what is conveyed at the end of Bhagavad Gita. And then the chapter 16, again the same concept is repeated in the first 3 verses. Abhayam Sattvam Sansuddhir Jnana Yoga Bevasthitihi Dana Damascha Yagyascha Swadhyaya Astapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodhas Tyaga Shantir Apaishunam Daya Bhuteshvalo Luptvam Mardvam Hira Chapalam Teja Chamadriti Shocham Adroho Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadam Devim Abhijatasya Bharata. Again over 20 qualities are revealed. Amazing qualities: humility, compassion, not showing one's pride, one's achievements, modesty, beautiful qualities, the ability to remain neutral in both sadness and happiness, and of course the truthfulness, the non-violence, the lack of unnecessary greed and desire, etc., is spoken about eminently in these 3 verses. And now the last 2 chapters, the chapter 17 is about the mind, this verse that I have picked up. Mana prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigrahah bhava sansuddhir atyeto tapomana samuchyate. In this chapter 17, Shraddha Traya Vibhag Yoga, Shri Krishna talks about what is the austerity of body, what is the austerity of speech, and what is the austerity of mind. So since I picked up only one verse and the time is limited, let me just say that about the mind. It says Mana Prasada Saumyatvam, the mind which is tranquil, the mind which is neutral, and the mind which is silent, and the mind which is in control. These are the austerities of the mind which we need to cultivate. And finally, the last chapter. In our previous verse, we took the ultimate verdict of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Forget all the religiosity, all the different methods. Just come to my shelter. Like a small child is surrendered to its mother. Similarly, if we take to the shelter of God, God says, do not fear, I will take care of you. So in the previous verse 65, the same concept is also revealed when the Lord says, Man bana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishya satyam te. prati jane priyosi mein. Worship me, remember me, become devoted to me, because the soul which we are a part of God. We all say, last night this person passed away. So why do we say so? The person's body is still there lying on the floor. Oh, so we all say that he passed away, that the spirit, the soul has passed away. So that soul is eternal. This we must know. And that is the soul which is the point of permanence, the eternality, the reality. So if we consider that we are the soul, we don't get into this state of depression that we will die, because the soul is immortal. The body anyway is subject to deterioration, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. It has to die one day. So body is temporary, made up of the 5 elements. It goes back into the 5 elements, but the soul is eternal. In a way, Bhagavad Gita is talking about this cardinal truth, that the soul is eternal. And if we can consider that and take to the methods which are prescribed by Sri Krishna, we remain peaceful and we remain blissful, and the anger, lust, greed, etc. can be tackled only through this method and no other method. Thank you all so much. Take care. See you in the next video.